So our first candidate, the four that we're interviewing during this session will be Larry McBurney. Larry is a candidate for Iowa House District 44. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're
And
absolutely right.
primarily covers the Urbandale area, Urbandale, Iowa. So, which is the northwestern suburbs of Des Moines Metro. So with that, Laurie, that short introduction, I'm going to give it to you. You have up to 6 minutes. Talk about your campaign, yourself, issues you're running. Then after 6 minutes, we're going to give it to Patrick. He'll ask you 2 or 3 questions. Then we'll be done, and this will take no more than 14 minutes. So, Larry, the floor is yours.
All right, I'll hold you to that 14 minutes, Mitch. So I'm Larry McBurney. I am currently part of the Urbandale City Council. I'm running for House District 44 out in Urbandale. It also covers a small piece of Des Moines. It's up in the Webster Township. Just a little bit of background information on me. Prior to being on the Urbandale City Council, I was part of the Urbandale Civil Rights Commission. My wife and I run a nonprofit called the Filipino American Society, where we assist with providing fundamental needs for Filipinos and providing basic services such as translation services and transportation as well. In addition to that, I was part of the Iowa Air National Guard. I served for 12 years. I deployed 3 times, twice to Iraq, once to Afghanistan. Came back from my second tour with PTSD. And so I've been working with veterans through the VFW and the American Legion on navigating the different obstacles that they need to go through to access mental health care services that are offered through the VA. As far as why I'm running, well, a lot of what's happening right now up at the legislature is impacting me personally. So I feel like I'm best suited to bring my life experience, not just my political experience, up to the Capitol and advocate for folks who don't necessarily have a voice up there. When we talk about mental health, that affects me personally. I've seen it firsthand. I know exactly what it is that folks have to go through to navigate those hurdles to get the care that they need, and the fact that we just don't have the resources needed to take care of everybody. When we talk about immigration rights, my wife is a first-generation Filipina from the Philippines in 2002 when she came here. So when we talk about immigration rights, that impacts our household immensely. My daughter is part of the LGBTQ community. So when we talk about LGBTQ rights, those are huge for me because I accept my daughter for who she is, as well as all of her friends and the folks that she hangs out with within the LGBTQ community. Oftentimes I end up being that additional parental unit for those folks, especially if they're coming from families who don't necessarily accept that viewpoint. For me, it's not a viewpoint, it's their lives we're talking about. In addition to that, our oldest son had to have services through the AEA when he first migrated here from the Philippines because he only spoke Tagalog. So the AEA was instrumental in helping assist the St. Charles School District in putting together his lesson plan for English as a second language learner. So that's just a little bit about me, why I'm running, some of the things that are going on right now that I think we all know about that are impacting me right away. And yeah, I'll leave it there for questions. I think I did it in less than 6 minutes. I think I wrapped it up in like 3 or 4, so I gave you plenty of time, Mitch.
Yes, you did. Before I introduce our chair, Patrick, I just want to say that Larry is a member of the coalition. He's actually a founding member of the coalition, and he's been very helpful in our build up over the last 3+ years. So, and with that, I'll give it to Patrick, the chair of our committee. So Patrick, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mitch. Hi, Larry. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, Bruce, how you doing? Hey, Patrick, how you doing, bud?
Good, good. So, Larry, you received the questionnaires, or the questionnaire. The first question of the healthcare section asked if you support creating a public initiative to provide needed medical care in Iowa's underserved areas. You answered yes, and that we need to meet Iowans where they are and ensure they have easily accessible transportation with flexible scheduling to be able to get to their healthcare providers, particularly given that some instances the nearest healthcare provider might be a couple hours away. No. So now please list some other variables limiting healthcare access besides transportation and how we might address them.
Yeah, I mean, we see it with the Filipino American Society. Language is a huge barrier for folks who are coming here as an immigrant, who don't necessarily speak English, if they aren't able to communicate with somebody who speaks the same language as them, that's a huge barrier to healthcare access. That's a huge barrier to any access. It's one of the reasons why we had the state's largest COVID vaccine clinic that was multilingual. So yeah, I mean, we need to ensure that what we are providing is not only transportation, but once they get there, are they able to access the services that are available? So yeah, language is a huge barrier. Poverty is, income levels are also a tremendous barrier. Folks who can't take off time from work. We as a state have no guaranteed paid sick time. I just recently had my haircut, as you can tell. Sorry, Patrick. I have to have somebody else do mine still. Love you, brother. But I was talking to the barber, and she was telling me that through her employment, she gets 2 weeks off every year, and that's it. And they're expected to take those weeks, or they're expected to take those 2 weeks in concurrent weeks. So 1 week at a time, preferably 1 week in the first half of the year, 1 week in the second half of the year. If they have to take off time, they don't get paid. That is a huge disservice to people that are in the service industry who really take care of us and provide the needs that all Iowans need. So having paid sick time is a huge benefit for folks to be able to access the healthcare that we have, because quite frankly, some people just they can't afford to take the time off.
Okay, thank you. Next question. So question 3 of the women's rights section of the questionnaire asked what policies you support that would lessen the child care crisis in Iowa for families and for the industry as a whole. Among the policies you cited was properly compensating parents who choose to stay at home with their children in an in-home child care role. So please state what you would consider proper compensation for a parent in this situation and outline how you might come to that figure.
So we're working on, or we're part of that as the city of Urbandale by providing the basic income pilot program through Uplift. It's providing $500 a month to families that meet a specific income threshold, and that's where we need to go towards, is providing a basic income for folks who have chosen to migrate towards staying home with their children, right? This is I believe the last analysis I saw, it was over $60,000 a year is what the average person staying home with a child should be earning. And right now, I don't know if you've looked at the tax credits recently, nobody gets a $60,000 tax credit. So we are not compensating people properly for easing the burden on our childcare system, because right now here in Iowa, we don't have enough childcare providers. The childcare providers that are available are far too expensive for most people to be able to maintain. And the people who do choose to stay home have done so because they have done a cost benefit analysis and determined that it is cheaper for them to stay home with a child than it is for them to go to work. Well, if that's going to be the case, now we know that we are taking an income earner out of the system, out of our work system, and we're putting most businesses at harm because they can't afford it. So we need to do one of either two things. One, we need to pay people enough money to incentivize them to be able to maintain their working status, or two, to help the economy, we should be looking at ways to incentivize people to stay home when they do have that children, because we all know that the first year of development for a child is the most crucial year. So we need to be doing more. We need to be creative in how we're doing it, instead of just complaining that the childcare system isn't working.
Thank you for that.
Larry, just want to let you know, and also Patrick, we have about 4 minutes remaining.
Okay, I think that gives us enough time for another question. So question 1A of the education section of the questionnaire asks what the legislature can do to attract and retain educators. You indicated a number of things, that it can, 1, provide classroom resource accounts for the purchase of basic classroom supplies, 2, increase basic salary, 3, implement a student loan repayment plan, 4, institute proper cost of living adjustments, and 5, provide more than 3% in public school budgets annually. While important, all of these are tied to financial. So what besides money can be done to attract and retain educators?
Yeah, if you look outside of the financial needs of most people and start digging into why people are leaving the state, you'll find that it's tied a lot to our legislation. We are passing anti-LGBTQ bills. Well, most people know of someone, are related to, or identify as part of the LGBTQ community. So when we pass this type of legislation saying that you're not welcome here, they're going to take it seriously and they're going to leave. We see people migrating to Illinois, to Wisconsin of all places, where, when I grew up, Wisconsin was considered more red than Iowa. So to hear that's crazy. So we need to stop passing legislation that impacts LGBTQ or members of the LGBTQ community. We need to ensure that we are providing appropriate spaces for folks to be able to flourish in. That includes here in Urbandale, we're very proud of knowing that we have some of the most walkable trails. Trails take you all throughout. We have a very active community because people have the ability to get out and actually move throughout without being hindered by traffic or worrying about cars or anything like that. So having more of that public green space available for people to be able to enjoy their activities. I mean, there's a lot of different recreational things that we can offer folks to incentivize them to stay here. But the biggest thing is we got to stop scaring people away by taking away their rights.
Okay, we got 2 minutes remaining. Patrick, Larry.
Okay, Larry, in those 2 minutes, why don't you take that time to give your final pitch as to why the coalition should endorse you?
Yeah, I think when we look at the coalition's mission and what it is that I look to support in the legislature, we very closely align. I feel like when you look at the Iowa Unity Coalition, their goal is to reach across the entire state of Iowa and bring in everybody across the community, no matter what you may represent. And I think that's something that I have done during my time on the Urbandale City Council. I've been a huge advocate for growing and expanding city services to be able to assist people. We're currently going through a social services survey to see what it is that we need to provide as a city, and that's been a huge part of what I've been pushing for. Climate change is a huge deal for me. We've seen the city of Urbandale transition to hybrid vehicles, also over to more environmentally friendly practices such as solar panels, rain barrels. I mean, you name it. We are trying to get better at doing it. And we've done that with the support of the community. And we've done it while keeping the tax levy low. So for all the Republicans who may be out there saying, oh, you can't do it without breaking the bank, we've discovered how to do it in Urbandale, so we can make it work.